A billionaire compelled the waitress to play the piano, but when she played it, everyone was shocked. The big space cruise ship Celestial Dream floated among the stars. Inside, a fancy party was happening. Rich people from Earth and important aliens from many planets gathered in the main hall. They wore expensive clothes and jewelry that sparkled under the bright lights. Richard Vance stood near the wall, watching everyone. He was the richest man on Earth. His company had invented ways for spaceships to talk to each other across huge distances. Tonight he felt bored. He had been to hundreds of parties just like this one. He sipped his drink slowly as alien ambassadors and business leaders tried to talk to him. They all wanted something, money for their projects or his support for their ideas. Richard nodded politely but wasn't really listening. His eyes wandered around the room until they found something interesting. A young woman moved between the guests carrying trays of drinks and food. She wasn't like the other workers on the ship. They all had computer chips in their brains to help them understand alien languages or machines in their bodies to make them stronger. But this woman was different. She was all human. Richard watched as she handled a difficult situation. An alien ambassador from Arcturus reached for a blue drink on her tray. The liquid suddenly started to turn solid because of something in the air around the alien. Before anyone noticed, the waitress quickly added a clear liquid from a small bottle in her pocket. The drink returned to normal. The ambassador took it, not realizing anything had happened. Clever, Richard thought. He kept watching her. Her name tag said Olivia Bennett. She moved with natural grace between the guests. When a tall alien with 4 arms asked her a question in a strange clicking language, she didn't use a translator. Instead, she smiled and answered in the same language. When a small floating alien needed its food cut into tiny pieces, she did it perfectly with just a regular knife. Interesting, Richard thought. Most people needed technology to do these things, but she did them naturally. The ship's captain came to the front of the room and tapped on a glass. Everyone got quiet. "Ladies, gentlemen, and honored guests of all species," the captain said, "I regret to inform you that our planned entertainment for tonight has been canceled. The famous pianist from Sirius has fallen ill due to an unexpected change in gravity. We apologize for this disappointment." Guests began to mumble unhappily. They had expected a special performance. The aliens from Sirius were known across the galaxy for their amazing music. Richard looked at Olivia again. She was cleaning up empty glasses, her fingers moving quickly and precisely. He noticed something about the way her hands moved. A thought came to him suddenly. He stood up straight and walked to the middle of the room. Everyone turned to look at him. Richard Vance never did anything without a reason. "You," he said loudly, pointing at Olivia. "Waitress, come here." The room got very quiet. Olivia froze, still holding her tray of empty glasses. "Sir?" she asked quietly. "Play for us," Richard said, pointing to the big piano-like instrument at the front of the room. It wasn't a regular piano. It was a quantum harmonizer, designed to create music that all species could enjoy, even those with very different ways of hearing. The cruise director rushed over, looking worried. "Mr. Vance," he said quietly, "Miss Bennett is a member of our service staff, not an entertainer. We can find another solution for tonight's." "She'll play," Richard said firmly. People who had his kind of money were not used to hearing the word no. Olivia shook her head. "Sir, I don't think 10 million credits, Richard said. The amount was huge, enough money to buy a small spaceship. "I'll send it to your account before you touch the first key." The captain of the ship came over now, looking concerned. "Mr. Vance, while your generosity is appreciated, we cannot ask our staff to—" "I'm not asking your staff," Richard interrupted. "I'm asking her." He looked directly at Olivia. "I've been watching your hands all evening. You have perfect control, perfect timing. Those are musicians' hands." Olivia looked down at her hands, then at the quantum harmonizer. The huge instrument glowed softly at the front of the room. It was worth more than she would earn in 20 years of work. "Unless," Richard said with a small smile, "you really can't play at all?" Something changed in Olivia's expression. A flash of pride, perhaps. She carefully set down her tray on a nearby table. "I can play," she said quietly. The room stayed silent as she walked to the front. The cruise director looked worried. The captain seemed uncertain. The alien guests watched with curiosity. Human waitresses didn't usually provide entertainment at events like this. Richard returned to his spot by the wall, feeling pleased with himself. Even if she played badly, at least something unexpected would happen tonight. Olivia sat down at the quantum harmonizer. It was much more complex than a regular piano. It had multiple keyboards and control panels designed to create sounds for many different alien hearing systems. Professional musicians spent years learning to play it. She placed her hands over the keys and closed her eyes. For a moment, she didn't move. Then her fingers began to press the keys. The first notes were simple. She played an old Earth song from hundreds of years ago. The human guests recognized it. Chopin's Nocturne. The aliens listened politely, though they didn't seem impressed. This was basic human music, nothing special. Richard frowned slightly. Had he made a mistake? But then, something changed. Olivia's hands began to move differently. Her fingers danced, across not just the main keyboard, but also the alien control systems of the harmonizer. The music shifted, growing more complex. New sounds joined the melody, deep vibrations that made the large Jovian aliens tremble with pleasure, high crystal tones that caused the Syrian delegates' head membranes to flutter in response. The quantum harmonizer began to glow brighter. The technical experts in the room exchanged confused glances. The instrument wasn't supposed to do that. Admiral John Carter of the Earth Space Force was standing near Richard. He leaned closer. "What's happening?" he whispered. "That instrument shouldn't be able to make those sound combinations." Richard didn't answer. He was too focused on Olivia. The waitress was playing with her eyes still closed, but her face showed intense concentration. The music grew louder, more beautiful, more impossible. Every species in the room heard something different in the music, something that spoke directly to their unique biology and culture. Yet somehow, it all worked together in perfect harmony. The quantum harmonizer's light grew brighter. Its core started to pulse with energy that shouldn't have been possible from a musical instrument. And then, in the air above the piano, something strange appeared. It looked like a small tear in the fabric of space itself, a window or doorway to somewhere else. Through it, impossible colors and shapes could be seen, things that didn't belong in our universe. Everyone in the room gasped. Security guards reached for their weapons. The ship's alarms began to sound. Olivia's eyes snapped open. She saw what she had created, and her hands immediately lifted from the keys. The music stopped. The strange doorway closed instantly, vanishing as if it had never been there. But everyone had seen it. Everyone knew something impossible had just happened. In the silence that followed, Richard Vance stared at the ordinary-looking waitress with new understanding. She wasn't ordinary at all, and he knew his life had just changed forever. A billionaire compelled the waitress to play the piano, but when she played it, everyone was shocked. The room exploded into chaos. Security guards rushed forward with their weapons drawn. Force fields turned on automatically, separating the guests from Olivia and the piano. The ship's alarms blared loudly. "Everyone remain calm," shouted the captain over the noise. "Security protocols are active. There is no immediate danger." But no one felt calm. They had all seen the strange doorway appear in the air. Nothing like this had ever happened before on any ship. Olivia sat frozen at the piano, her hands now in her lap. She looked scared and confused. Guards surrounded her, pointing their weapons. "Step away from the instrument," ordered the chief of security. Olivia stood slowly and moved away from the piano. Her legs shook slightly. Richard Vance watched everything with great interest. While others looked afraid, he looked excited. He had discovered something truly new, and that rarely happened to a man who had seen almost everything. Admiral Carter spoke quietly into his communication device. More security personnel entered the room. They brought scanning equipment and began checking the piano and the area where the strange doorway had appeared. "Take her to the detention level for questioning," Carter ordered, pointing at Olivia. 2. Guards moved to grab her arms, but Richard stepped forward. "One moment," he said. His voice wasn't loud, but everyone heard him. When the richest man in the solar system spoke, people listened. "This woman is now under my personal employment. I'll take responsibility for her." Admiral Carter frowned. "With all due respect, Mr. Vance, what just happened may be a security threat to the entire ship, perhaps to Earth itself. All the more reason to handle this carefully," Richard replied. "Do you want to create an incident by roughly detaining someone who simply played music when asked to do so? Music that I requested?" Carter hesitated. Richard Vance had powerful political connections. "She must be questioned," Carter said firmly. "Of course," Richard agreed, "and I'll be present during that questioning." Carter didn't like it, but he nodded. "Fine, but the detention level protocols will be followed." The guards led Olivia away. Richard followed closely behind them. As they walked through the corridors of the ship, guests and crew members stared at them. News traveled fast on a cruise ship, even one as large as the Celestial Dream. The detention level was on a lower deck. It had special rooms designed to hold dangerous people or aliens safely. The guards took Olivia to a small plain room with white walls. It had a table, 3 chairs, and nothing else. Cameras watched from every corner. Olivia sat in one chair. Richard took another. Admiral Carter entered with a woman in a science uniform. Her name tag said, Dr. Linda Morgan, Chief Science Officer. "Now," Carter said, looking directly at Olivia, "explain what just happened." Olivia's hands twisted together, nervously in her lap. "I played the piano," she said softly. "That's all." Dr. Morgan shook her head. "That wasn't all. The quantum harmonizer created a spatial anomaly, something like a doorway to somewhere else. That shouldn't be possible with any known musical technique." "I don't know how it happened," Olivia insisted. "I just played the way I always do." "And how often do doorways to other dimensions appear when you play?" Carter asked sharply. Olivia looked down at her hands. "I've never played a quantum harmonizer before, just regular pianos." Richard watched her carefully. "But something similar has happened before, hasn't it? Maybe not as dramatic, but something unusual." Olivia didn't answer right away. When she did, her voice was very quiet. "Sometimes, when I play, strange things happen. Lights flicker. Electronic devices act strangely. People say they see colors in the air or feel odd sensations." Dr. Morgan took out a small device and began scanning Olivia. "Do you have any implants or enhancements? Anything that might interact with the harmonizer's systems?" "No," Olivia said. "I'm completely natural. No implants, no gene modifications, nothing." The scanner confirmed her words. Unlike most people who worked in space, Olivia had no technological improvements in her body. "Where did you learn to play?" Richard asked. "My grandmother taught me back on Earth in a small town in what used to be called Minnesota." "And your grandmother? Could she make strange things happen with music too?" Olivia nodded slowly. "People in town said she was weird. They said her music could make crops grow better or help sick people heal faster." Admiral Carter looked skeptical. "This sounds like superstition, not science." "Many things that seem like magic are just science we don't understand yet," Richard said. He leaned forward, looking at Olivia with intense interest. "What did you feel when you were playing? When the doorway appeared?" Olivia closed her eyes, remembering. "I felt connected to something. Like the music wasn't just coming from the piano or from me, but from somewhere else too, somewhere very far away. And that somewhere was responding to me." Dr. Morgan looked at her scanner readings with surprise. "This is strange. Her brain patterns show unusual activity in the areas associated with music processing, but also in regions that should have nothing to do with music at all. It's almost like parts of her brain are communicating in ways that shouldn't be possible." "Is she human?" Carter asked bluntly. Completely human, Dr. Morgan confirmed. Just different. Richard smiled slightly. Different is interesting. Before anyone could say more, the whole ship suddenly shook violently. The lights flickered and alarms began to sound again, different ones this time. Admiral Carter's communication device buzzed. He answered it quickly. The captain's voice came through, sounding worried. Admiral, we have a situation. 3 unknown ships have just appeared near us. They're not responding to hails and they don't match any known design, Earth or alien. Carter stood up quickly. Put the ship on high alert. I'm coming to the bridge. He hurried out of the room. Dr. Morgan followed him, leaving Richard and Olivia alone with the guards outside the door. What's happening? Olivia asked, looking afraid. Richard's face was serious now. I think someone noticed your performance. Olivia's eyes widened. The doorway. Something came through? Or something noticed when you opened it? Richard said quietly. Like knocking on a door. Sometimes someone answers. The ship shook again, harder this time. The lights went out completely for a few seconds before emergency lighting came on. Richard made a quick decision. He stood up and offered his hand to Olivia. Come with me. Where? I have a private shuttle docked on this ship. If those unknown vessels are looking for you, it might be safer if you're not here. Olivia hesitated. Why would you help me? You don't even know me. Richard smiled. Because in 83 years of life with all my money and power, I've rarely seen anything truly new. You showed me something new tonight. That makes you the most valuable person I've met in decades. Another shake hit the ship, stronger than before. Somewhere, metal screamed as it bent. Besides, Richard added, I still owe you 10 million credits for that performance. Olivia took his hand and stood up. What about the guards? Richard tapped his wrist computer. Security override. Vance Protocol Alpha. Authorization. Richard Vance. Personal code 7729 Xenon Delta. The door slid open. The guards stood at attention, but didn't try to stop them. Let's go, Richard said. I think we have a lot to talk about and not much time to do it. Together they hurried through the corridors of the ship, heading for the private docking bay where Richard's shuttle waited. Behind them, the unknown ships moved closer to the celestial dream, their intentions still a mystery. The chase had begun. A billionaire compelled the waitress to play the piano, but when she played it, everyone was shocked. Richard and Olivia ran through the shaking ship. Emergency lights flashed red along the walls. Other passengers hurried to safety areas. No one paid attention to them in all the confusion. This way, Richard said, turning down a narrow hallway. My private docking area is just ahead. They reached a door marked Private Bay 7, authorized personnel only. Richard pressed his hand against the scanner. The door slid open. Inside was a sleek, small spaceship. It looked expensive and fast. Not as big as a cruise ship, but much nicer than regular shuttles. Get in, Richard told Olivia. Quickly, they hurried inside. The inside of the shuttle was comfortable with soft chairs and fancy controls. Richard sat in the pilot's seat and started pressing buttons. Screens lit up around him. Can you really fly this thing? Olivia asked, sitting in the seat next to him. I own 12 companies that build spaceships, Richard said. I learned to fly before I learned to run a business. The ship hummed to life. More screens showed what was happening outside. The main cruise ship was surrounded by 3 strange vessels. They didn't look like any ships Olivia had ever seen. They weren't the normal shape of Earth ships or any alien ships she knew. They looked like perfect triangles of glowing light. Those aren't regular ships, Olivia whispered. No, Richard agreed, they're not. He kept working the controls. The question is, what do they want? Me, Olivia said quietly. They want me. Richard looked at her. How do you know that? I can feel it, the same way I felt something while playing the piano. They're calling to me. The main ship shook again. Alarms blared louder. We need to leave now, Richard said. He pressed a button and spoke into a small microphone. Vance shuttle requesting emergency departure clearance. A voice came back, sounding stressed. Mr. Vance, the captain has ordered all shuttles to remain docked during this emergency. Override code Vance Omega 5, Richard replied calmly. Check your system. I have priority clearance. There was a pause, then, clearance granted, Mr. Vance. Bay doors opening now. The large doors in front of them began to slide apart, showing the blackness of space beyond. Stars twinkled in the distance. Hold on, Richard said. He pushed a lever forward, and the shuttle moved out of the bay into open space. As soon as they cleared the main ship, one of the triangle ships turned toward them. They see us, Olivia said, gripping her seat tightly. Good, Richard replied. Let's see how fast they are. He pushed another button, and suddenly the shuttle shot forward at high speed, racing away from the main cruise ship. The triangle ship followed them. It's chasing us, Olivia said, looking at the screen behind them. Yes, but it doesn't seem to be attacking. If it wanted to hurt us, it probably would have fired weapons by now. Maybe they don't want to hurt us. Maybe they just want to talk. Richard glanced at her. Talk? Through music, you mean? Olivia nodded. The doorway I opened. I think it leads to wherever they come from. I think they've been trying to reach our universe for a long time. Richard turned the shuttle sharply, flying toward a large planet with rings around it. Why you? Why were you able to open this doorway when no one else could? Olivia looked at her hands. My grandmother told me our family was special. She said we could hear the music between worlds. I always thought it was just a story, something to make me practice piano more. The ship sped toward the planet's rings, thousands of small rocks and ice pieces circling the planet. What are you doing? Olivia asked. Those rings will help us. Hide, the rocks will block their sensors. It's our best chance to lose them. The shuttle dove into the rings. Ice and rocks banged against the ship's shields. Richard flew carefully between the larger pieces, twisting and turning. Are they still following? He asked. Olivia checked the screen. Yes, but they're falling behind a little. Good. Richard flew deeper into the rings. Now, tell me more about this music between worlds. Olivia took a deep breath. My grandmother said that reality is like a song. Different universes are like different melodies all playing at once. Most people only hear their own melody, their own universe. But some people, like me and my grandmother, can hear other melodies too. And if we play the right notes in the right way, we can bring the melodies together. Creating a doorway between universes, Richard said, understanding. Yes, but it's dangerous. My grandmother warned me never to play that way in public. She said other beings might hear it and try to come through. Beings like those triangle ships? I think so. They don't belong in our universe. They exist somewhere else with different rules. But they've been listening to our music, our radio signals, everything we send out into space. They've been trying to understand us, to find a way to talk to us. Richard checked their course. They were deep in the planet's rings now. The triangle ship was still following but seemed to be having trouble tracking them. So when you played the quantum harmonizer, Richard began, it amplified what I can do naturally, Olivia finished. It made the doorway bigger, more stable, and they noticed. Richard thought for a moment. These beings, are they dangerous? I don't know. They're different from us in ways we can't fully understand, like trying to explain color to someone who can't see. A light flashed on the control panel. Richard frowned. What's wrong? Olivia asked. They're doing something strange. Some kind of energy field is spreading through the rings. They watched as a wave of light moved through the rocks around them, making them glow softly. They're looking for us, Olivia said. But not with normal sensors. They're using some kind of resonance. Like they're making the rocks sing to find us. Richard looked at her with new respect. You understand them better than I thought. Not really. I just feel what they're doing. Olivia closed her eyes. They're getting closer. Richard made a quick decision. He pushed the shuttle out of the rings back into open space. What are you doing? Olivia asked, surprised. They'll see us. They've already found us. Running won't help now. Better to face them directly. The shuttle stopped. They waited. Soon, the triangle ship appeared, glowing brightly against the blackness of space. It moved closer to them but stopped a safe distance away. "Now what?" Richard asked. Olivia stared at the triangle ship. "They're waiting." "For what?" "For me to answer them." Olivia looked around the shuttle. "Is there anything here I can use to make music? Any instrument at all?" Richard thought for a moment, then pressed a button on the control panel. A small compartment opened in the wall. He reached in and pulled out a simple electronic keyboard. "Sometimes compose music when I travel," he explained, seeing Olivia's surprised look. "It helps me think." Olivia took the keyboard and placed it on her lap. "This might work. It's not as powerful as the quantum harmonizer, but maybe it's enough." "Enough for what?" Richard asked. "To talk to them, to find out what they want." Olivia positioned her fingers over the keys. "But I need to warn you. This might be dangerous. If I open another doorway, even a small one, they might try to come through." Richard looked at the triangle ship waiting outside. "I think they're coming through either way. Better to have it happen on our terms." Olivia nodded. "Stay back. And if anything strange happens, if I seem different afterward, don't trust me. It might not be me anymore." Before Richard could respond, Olivia began to play. The simple notes filled the shuttle. At first, nothing special happened. Then, slowly, the music began to change. Notes that shouldn't be possible on a simple keyboard somehow emerged. Sounds that human ears shouldn't be able to hear. Outside, the triangle ship began to pulse with light and rhythm with Olivia's playing. A conversation had begun. A billionaire compelled the waitress to play the piano, but when she played it, everyone was shocked. As Olivia played the keyboard, the music filled the small shuttle. The triangle ship outside pulsed with light that matched the rhythm of her playing. Richard watched, both amazed and worried. The music grew stronger. Notes overlapped in ways that shouldn't be possible on a simple keyboard. Some sounds were so high that Richard could barely hear them. Others were so deep that he felt them more than heard them. A small point of light appeared in the air between Olivia and the front window of the shuttle. The light grew larger, forming a small circle about the size of a dinner plate. Through it, Richard could see swirling colors and shapes that made no sense to his eyes. "Another doorway," he whispered. Olivia didn't respond. Her eyes were closed as her fingers danced across the keys. She seemed lost in the music, unaware of anything else. The triangle ship moved closer. A beam of light stretched from the ship to the small doorway in the shuttle. When the beam touched the doorway, the circle grew larger. Richard felt afraid, but he didn't interrupt. He needed to know what these beings wanted. Suddenly, Olivia stopped playing. The doorway remained open, held in place by the beam from the triangle ship. Then Olivia spoke, but her voice sounded different, deeper and with a strange echo. "We have waited long for this moment," she said. "Many of your years we have listened to your world's music, trying to understand, trying to find a way to speak." Richard realized with a shock that the beings from the triangle ship were speaking through Olivia. "Who are you?" he asked. "What do you want?" Olivia's head turned toward him, but her eyes remained closed. There are no words in your language for what we are. We exist in what you might call the spaces between dimensions. We experience reality as harmonics, as resonances between states of being. Why are you here? Why now? We have always been here, alongside your reality but separate from it. We cannot normally interact with your universe. The barriers between dimensions are too strong, but Olivia's hand lifted, pointing to herself. She bridges the gap. Her music creates pathways we can follow. And what do you want with her? With us? To learn? To share? Our kinds have never been able to communicate before. This is new to us, as it is to you. Richard wasn't sure he believed them. Then why chase us? Why attack the cruise ship? We did not attack. We were excited. Our approach caused disruptions in your ship's systems. An unintended effect. We have much to learn about how our presence affects your reality. Before Richard could ask more questions, the shuttle's communication system suddenly came to life. Admiral Carter's voice filled the cabin. "Vance Shuttle, this is Admiral Carter on Earth Defense Vessel Intrepid. We've tracked your position. We have weapons locked on both you and the unidentified craft. Respond immediately." Richard quickly pressed the reply button. "Carter, this is Vance. Hold your fire. We're making first contact with a non-hostile species. Our scans show unusual energy readings from your shuttle," Carter replied. "And the woman is showing abnormal life signs. We believe you may be under alien influence or control." "I'm fine," Richard insisted. "We're communicating with them. They're speaking through Olivia, using her as a translator." "That's exactly what someone under alien control would say," Carter responded. "We're moving in. Prepare to be brought aboard." Through the shuttle window, Richard could see a large military ship approaching. It was much bigger than his shuttle, with obvious weapons pointed at them and at the triangle ship. "You don't understand what's happening here," Richard said urgently. "These beings aren't hostile, they're just different. If you attack them, you could start an interspecies war." "That's a risk we're prepared to take," Carter said coldly. "The safety of Earth comes first." The military ship moved closer. Richard could see smaller fighter ships launching from its sides. He turned back to Olivia, who was still connected to the triangle ship through the doorway. "They're going to attack. Can you tell your friends to leave? To come back later when we can explain better?" Olivia's strange voice replied. "We cannot leave her now. The connection is incomplete. Breaking it suddenly could harm both her and us." "Then we've got a big problem," Richard muttered. He thought quickly. Richard Vance hadn't become the richest man in the solar system by giving up when things got difficult. He always found another way. He looked at the shuttle controls. His private shuttle had features that normal ships didn't have, features he had added himself for emergencies. "Hold on," he told Olivia, or whatever was speaking through her. "I'm going to try something." Richard's fingers flew across the control panel. He activated a special system hidden within the shuttle's main computer. "Carter," he said into the communication system, "I'm sending you some data. Look at it before you do anything stupid." "What kind of data?" Carter asked suspiciously. "Readings from inside my shuttle. Proof that we're not under alien control and that these beings aren't hostile." What Richard actually sent was something very different. It was a computer virus designed to temporarily disable weapon systems. Richard had developed it years ago as protection against space pirates. He never thought he'd use it against Earth's own military. "Receiving your data now," Carter said. Then, a moment later, "What the? Our weapons are going offline. Vance, what have you done?" "Bought us some time," Richard replied. "Now listen to me. These beings communicate through music. They've been trying to reach us for years. Olivia Bennett can talk to them. This is a historic moment. Don't ruin it because you're scared of something new." While Carter and his crew dealt with the disabled weapons, Richard turned back to Olivia. She was still connected to the triangle ship, still speaking with that strange voice. "We sense conflict," the voice said. "Your kind fears us." "Some of us do," Richard admitted. "Fear of the unknown is common for humans, but not all of us are afraid. Some of us want to learn from you, to understand you. Understanding requires time and risk." "I'm willing to take that risk," Richard said, "but I need to know that Olivia will be safe, that you won't harm her. We do not wish harm, we wish connection, but the connection must be completed properly. We must bring her to our side briefly so that she can learn our ways. Then she can return and help others understand." Richard frowned. "Bring her to your side? You mean take her through the doorway? Into your dimension?" "Yes, it is necessary." "For how long?" "Time moves differently where we exist. For her, perhaps what you would call days. For you, perhaps longer." Richard didn't like this idea. "And if I say no?" "Then the connection remains incomplete. The doorway, unstable. Eventually it will collapse with unpredictable results for both our kinds. Admiral Carter's voice came through the communication system again. Vance, our systems are coming back online. Whatever you did won't work for long. I'm giving you one last chance to surrender before we take action. Richard faced an impossible choice. Let Olivia go with these strange beings into another dimension, or face attack from Earth's military. Neither option seemed good. He looked at Olivia. Even with her eyes closed, connected to alien beings, there was something about her that seemed strong, capable. She had opened this doorway. Maybe she could handle what was on the other side. How do I know she'll come back? He asked the voice. You cannot know. You must trust, as we trust sending our knowledge through her. Trust was not something that came easily to Richard Vance. In business, in life, trust had often led to disappointment, but right now trust might be the only option. Vance, last warning, Carter shouted through the communication system. Richard made his decision. Do what you need to do, he told the beings through Olivia, but bring her back safely. If you harm her, you'll regret making contact with humans. The strange voice replied, We understand. The bridge between our kinds has begun. It cannot end with broken faith. The doorway in the air grew larger. The beam of light from the triangle ship brightened. Olivia's body began to glow with the same light. Then, in a flash of brilliant energy, Olivia vanished. The keyboard fell to the floor with a clatter. The doorway closed immediately after her. The triangle ship moved back, then disappeared in a blur of light. Richard was alone in the shuttle, with Earth's military closing in and no idea if he would ever see Olivia Bennett again. A billionaire compelled the waitress to play the piano, but when she played it, everyone was shocked. 3 weeks passed since Olivia disappeared through the doorway. Richard Vance sat in a small room on an Earth military base. They had not put him in prison exactly. His money and connections prevented that. But they would not let him leave either. Every day, Admiral Carter came to ask the same questions. Every day, Richard gave the same answers. Where did she go? Carter would ask. To their dimension. Richard would answer. When will she return? I don't know. What did they want? To communicate, to understand us. Carter never believed him. The military thought Richard had helped Olivia escape. They thought the triangle ships were a new type of human technology, not aliens from another dimension. They thought Richard and Olivia were working with enemy forces. Richard just waited. He had nothing else to do. On the 23rd day, the alarms began to sound. Red lights flashed in the hallways. Guards ran past Richard's room, shouting orders to each other. Something was happening. Richard went to his window. In the sky above the military base, a familiar shape appeared. A triangle of light, much larger than before, hovered silently. Guards rushed into Richard's room. Come with us, they ordered. The Admiral wants you now. They took Richard to a large control room. Screens covered the walls, showing the triangle ship from different angles. Soldiers worked at computers. Weapons pointed at the sky. Admiral Carter stood in the middle of the room. He looked angry and worried. Your friends are back, he said to Richard. What do they want now? I don't know, Richard said truthfully. But I suggest not shooting at them. That didn't work well last time. The Admiral frowned. The military had tried to capture Richard's shuttle 3 weeks ago. When they fired warning shots, their weapons stopped working. Their engines failed too. The triangle ship had protected Richard somehow before disappearing. We've got better weapons now, Carter said. Designed specifically to deal with their technology. Richard shook his head. You're making a mistake. They're not hostile unless threatened. Before Carter could reply, a voice came through all the speakers in the room. It was Olivia's voice, but different, fuller, more confident. People of Earth, she said. Please don't be afraid, I'm returning now. I ask for safe passage. Carter grabbed a microphone. This is Admiral John Carter of Earth Defense Force. Identify yourself properly and state your intentions. This is Olivia Bennett, Admiral, human citizen. I've been away. The beings you see as triangle ships have shared their knowledge with me. I'm here to share it with humanity. Carter looked at Richard. Is it really her? Sounds like her, Richard said, though something's different. Carter spoke into the microphone again. We require you to land at our facility for questioning and examination. I understand, Olivia's voice replied. But I need Richard Vance to be present. And I need your promise that no one will be harmed, not me, and not the beings I represent. Carter hesitated, then nodded. Agreed. Land at the marked location. A beam of light shot down from the triangle ship to the ground. Where it touched, a circle of grass turned silvery and began to glow. Then a figure appeared in the light. A woman. It's her, Richard said. It's Olivia. Soldiers surrounded the landing area, weapons ready. Richard and Admiral Carter walked out to meet her. As they got closer, Richard saw that Olivia had changed. She looked the same physically, same height, same face, same simple waitress uniform she had worn 3 weeks ago, but she moved differently. Her eyes seemed to see more. A faint glow seemed to surround her, visible only from certain angles. Richard, she said, smiling. I'm glad you're okay. Are you okay? He asked. What happened to you there? I learned, she said simply. I saw their world. I understood their music. They showed me things I never imagined. Admiral Carter interrupted. Ms. Bennett, you've been gone for 3 weeks. You vanished from a shuttle after communicating with an unknown entity. You understand we have questions? Of course, Olivia nodded. I'll answer everything I can, but first I need to show you something important. What? Carter asked suspiciously. The truth, she said. About them, about us, about music. She held out her hands. In one appeared a small device like a simple remote control with a few buttons. What is that? Carter demanded. Soldiers raised their weapons. It's a gift, Olivia said calmly. From them to us. A translator of sorts. It can help me show you what I experienced. It could be a weapon, Carter said. Richard stepped forward. Or it could be the most important device in human history. He looked at Olivia. I believe her. Carter hesitated, then nodded. Show us then. But slowly. Olivia pressed a button on the device. A soft hum filled the air. Then, music began to play. It wasn't like any music Richard had heard before. It made him think of stars being born and galaxies spinning. It made him feel both very small and very large at the same time. As the music played, the air above them changed. Colors appeared where no colors should be. Shapes formed and dissolved. It was like seeing into another world. What is this? Carter whispered, his suspicion replaced by wonder. This is how they see reality, Olivia explained. For them, everything is music. Everything is vibration and harmony. They don't have bodies like we do. They exist as patterns of energy, as songs that never end. The music changed, becoming more complex. The shapes in the air formed into images. Earth as seen from space, human cities, people walking and talking. They've been watching us for centuries, Olivia continued, listening to our music, our radio signals, our communications. They've been trying to understand us, but they couldn't find a way to communicate until they found someone who could hear their music. You, Richard said. Olivia nodded. Me and others like me. There are more humans who can sense their presence. Not many, but enough. They want to teach us and learn from us. Teach us what? Carter asked. How to hear the music of the universe. How to travel between dimensions using sound instead of ships. How to create and build using harmonics instead of tools. She pressed another button on the device. The music changed again. Now it sounded like 1,000 voices singing together in perfect harmony. Their world is dying, Olivia said sadly. Their dimension is collapsing. They need a new home, a new place to exist. They want to come here? To Earth? Carter looked alarmed again. Not exactly. Olivia shook her head. They don't want our physical space. They want to exist alongside us. in the spaces between moments, in the harmonics of our reality. They can teach us so much, Admiral, and all they ask in return is a chance to survive. Richard looked up at the triangle ship still hovering above them. What happens now? Olivia smiled. Now we learn to play together. A new song for both our kinds. She held out the device to Admiral Carter. This is just the beginning. They have so much more to share. Will you listen? Carter looked at the device, then at the strange lights in the sky, then back at Olivia. Slowly, he reached out and took the device. I'll listen, he said. We all will. Above them, the triangle ship glowed brighter. More ships appeared in the sky, forming a pattern like musical notes on a sheet of paper. The future had arrived, and it sounded beautiful. Richard Vance smiled. He had only wanted to hear a waitress play piano to ease his boredom. Instead, he had helped change the course of human history. And somewhere, the music played on.